Welcome back to Three Barrow Farm, friends. As we get closer to harvest season, I'm aware of the overflowing deep freezer I have and the bottled items on my shelves that have been sitting there for a year or more now. So this month, I'm gently moving into a pantry and freezer challenge so we can eat through some of our food storage and make way for the summer and autumn harvests to come. My main objective over this next month or so is to use what I have first. So fresh food coming from the garden will be included, and then from the fridge and the freezer, and lastly from the pantry. I'll be using any leftovers first. We like to have leftover dinners for lunch, but sometimes we forget about it, especially when we're busy. So I'll be focusing our attention to the leftovers and bits and pieces in the fridge before we set off to make something new. As usual, at this point in summer, I'm running low on a lot of pantry staples. I'm up to my last few bottles of tomatoes and tomato paste, but we still have a lot of bottles of fruit to use up. Pantry items last a lot longer than fridge and freezer items, so I'm not too concerned about them. Because freezing produce is an easy method, the freezers do get quite full. So I'm keen to work through half of the freezer contents at least. This challenge will also cut down on our food bill, which is an added bonus. Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead does a pantry challenge at this time of the year, and so I'll be following along with her challenge, although my own challenge will be focusing more on my freezer items rather than my pantry items. But I'm essentially coming along on this challenge with her, so I'm looking forward to seeing everyone else who's also doing the pantry challenge. I went through our deep freezer the other day when it was a much cooler morning, and I sorted through everything. There is an amazing amount of spring onions and Egyptian walking onions all cut up into bags. I didn't quite realise how many packets I had in the freezer. I've also got an equal amount of small containers of bone broth that I made in wintertime with our lamb bones. I've mentioned it before here, but I used to be vegetarian and I cook mainly vegetarian meals for my family. When we moved onto our property, we added lamb into our diet, but only lamb from our own farm-grown sheep. In 2025, we started to add chicken into our diet, and I was mainly purchasing organic chicken, but organic chicken is quite expensive, so we've recently just started buying a mixture of organic and free-range chicken. So my kids were the main push to start having chicken, and I'd love to raise our own meat chickens here on our farm and process them, but that is a while off now until we build our new chicken coop areas. So we have been accruing quite a decent amount of chicken in our deep freezer, and I have 2 whole chickens. I think there's about 5 packets of thighs and breast, and a few bags of drumsticks as well. So I will be cooking up some chicken over this next month as well and working through that, which will be fantastic because we won't have to spend any money on chicken, so that will really bring the cost of our shopping down. We only have one half of a leg or a shoulder of our last lamb that we had done, and I think there's a large shank in there as well, so I will be using these. I have been cooking the lamb very slowly because we only had one half a lamb left in our freezer for the past maybe 6 to 7 months, so we haven't been cooking it that often at all, and that's about to change. We will be getting another lot of lambs processed very soon, so we will be filling our freezer with lamb again. I'm not worried about emptying my deep freeze to fit this lamb because we have a second chest freezer for just lamb. So when we get our lambs processed, we throw them all in there and we have a lot of meat for a long time. There are also a lot of packets of greens in the freezer, both freezers actually. I have sorted through the freezer in the kitchen as well. I've got kale, cabbage leaves and spinach as well. So I will be using these in meals and in smoothies, and that will be very much appreciated over this next bit of time over summer, because it's really hard to keep greens going in the heat of the summer. Things tend to want to go to seed. So it'll be really nice to have those greens there to use. There are also a few containers of split peas, cooked split peas and chickpeas. So they're all ready to go once they've defrosted. I think these split peas will need a little bit of cooking still, because no matter how long I cook the yellow split peas for, they seem to never soften. So I cooked these for a very long time before I froze them. And once I'm defrosting them, I'm just putting them in the slow cooker for a whole day, putting them in soups and things like that. And this seems to cook them well. I also have some homemade curry paste, pesto and dips as well to use that are in the deep freeze. And I have homegrown blanched broccoli and cauliflower to use up. I have got the ingredients for chickpea and cauliflower curry for maybe 3 meals. So that's really nice to have that in the freezer there. I can just pull it out. In fact, I have pulled out 1 container of chickpeas, another container of curry paste, and some of my blanched cauliflower, which I've still got the cauliflower in the freezer because I will defrost that just before I start cooking. But the other 2 are in the fridge and I will cook this tomorrow night, I believe. I'm going to do a bit of a tally of meals that I will cook from Monday to Sunday, and we shall see how we go. So yesterday I wanted to get through some fresh produce I had in the fridge and sitting in boxes from one of our local fruit and veg shops. I purchase boxes of fruit when I can at this time of the year. The boxes of fruit always come at a really great price. We have a few local orchards and it's nice to purchase the items that would otherwise be thrown out. So this box of apricots had some bird damage, and so that's why it was heavily discounted. This is actually my second box of apricots that I've purchased. I made the last box into apricot jam to give away at Christmas. So I'm just cutting out the bird damaged parts, and I'll be stewing these apricots to use in a crumble tonight and then to freeze some to enjoy on porridge or with yogurt or to make future crumbles with. I'll hopefully be purchasing another box soon. The heat waves are a good time to go to your local fruit and veg shops to see what's needing to be used up and get them for a discounted price. Often you see cake bananas for sale after a hot day. I want to make some more apricot jam as my kids and husband enjoy jam on toast every now and then, and they were sad when the last lot of apricot jam I made last apricot season ran out. So I'm going to make sure I have a larger stock of apricot jam this time around. When I purchase our local fruit and veg and I'm unsure how they have been grown, I tend to treat them as I do any non-organic produce. So I soak them in bicarbonate soda and water and then rinse them after this. This is supposed to take away some of the chemical residue on the food. I wanted to use up a lot of fresh vegetables I've had in the fridge over the Christmas break to make some freezer meals that I can pull from once I'm back to work next week. Having some meals on hand that I can take out of the freezer the night before will make it easier for my kids to cook up the meals on the nights that I'm not able to cook and when they need to be eating earlier because they've got sports on that night. I love using my Thermomix to chop up veggies when I'm making bulk meals. It is so fast and efficient. I had cooked up some lentils the day before, ready to use in a few meal preps that I want to get done. So the lentils are all ready to use in this meal. I'm also using up some of the dehydrated homemade tomato paste I have in these jars. You just add some water and the tomato paste is ready to use. This jar of tomatoes is the fourth last jar left from last growing season. I'm really hoping I have enough tomatoes this season to last through like I did last year. So I'm making one of our staple dishes here, a lentil sauce to go with rice. Thanks to my parents, I have a good amount of fresh oregano to put in the sauce, and I'm also adding some kale that my husband harvested that was randomly growing in some pots that he has trees in at the moment. Along with the lentil sauce, I also made a vegetable pasta sauce in my Thermomix. It's a really easy recipe to just throw on and have cooking away in the Thermomix while I'm focusing on other things. Now time to make the dinner for this night. I decided on an asparagus and corn risotto with some of the frozen spring onions. I got the asparagus on special as it was coming to its use by, and we all love asparagus risotto, but I had to chop some of the spears short, so I added the corn as well to make up for the lack of asparagus. I'm making sure I label all the items I freeze this year. Like with sowing seeds, sometimes we think we'll remember what we've sown or planted, but most of the time we forget. I do the same with things I freeze, so I'm making it a habit to label them. I hope you've enjoyed this little video. I'm looking forward to bringing you a video each week of the meals that I cook and the things I make to try and get through the freezer. I forgot to mention, I've got quite a lot of fruit in the freezers as well, like bananas. Bananas will definitely be going into smoothies. I've also got a whole bowl of bananas over there. So I will be processing these bananas. Probably some of them will end up being chopped up and put in the freezer, ready to make into sorbet. And my kids like to make a sugar-free sorbet in summertime, so I will probably get to freezing those soon. and then they'll be ready to use. So my plan is to release 2 videos a week. One will be in the garden and the other will be in the kitchen. So I'm really hopeful that I will get through my pantry and freezer, particularly the deep freeze out in the shed. I really want to get the contents of that freezer down this month. And there are a few things in my pantry that I want to work through as well. I'm not going to take you on a pantry tour because that would just be enormous, because we've got, we have a big food store. We buy all of our dried goods and everything in bulk. So I've got a lot of things in there, but there's a few bits and pieces that I don't normally get. There's some noodles that I haven't used yet. There's certain things that I would like to use up. If I'm having trouble finding a recipe, I will probably show you some ingredients and get some suggestions from you all. But I hope you have enjoyed this little intro to this freezer pantry challenge that I'm about to embark on. If you didn't see my last one, I have got a playlist of the last pantry challenge that I did. And you can head over there and see some things. There'll probably be a few repeats of meals because we like our staples, but I'd like to get out of my comfort zone and try a few new things as well. So I'm looking forward to bringing you this, and I hope you enjoy watching it. Thank you so much for being here, friends, and I will see you again very soon.